There is a big debate on, well, there's not much of a debate, but the Christians, Judeo-Christians in America, um, are the ones who passed laws that made it against the law for you to marry your own sister, even your half-sister. And if you go back to the laws of Moses in the Jewish religion, when Moses wrote the law that prohibited a person from marrying his sister or your half-sister, you must remember that before he came, Abraham married Sarah, who was his half-sister, and every Jew identifies himself with Abraham being their number one man of God, not Moses. But the Christians have adopted the Jewish religion that it is prohibited that a man marry his half-sister or his sister, because Moses clearly did say that this was wrong. Now, the big question is, do you take that commandment that Moses wrote and take it literal and apply it to the Christian religion? And this is what the Judeo-Christians have done in America. That's why it's illegal for you to marry your half-sister or your sister in the United States. Let's go back to the Mosaic commandments to go into a village and murder all the women and the children in that village because God told you to do so. Let's go back to the commandment that God permitted men to have many different wives. A man could have many wives. This was socially accepted. This was accepted by God at one time, and then again later on he specifically said no, be a man to one wife. So the big question is, if the Bible says on one hand you can marry your sister, and on the other hand it says you can't, and then it says on the other hand you can't have many wives, but on the other hand it says you can. And if we take the commandments that God gave the Jews to go in and murder all the women and children in a village to purify it, do we still do that today? No. So you see, there's a big question in the Christian religion as to really, is it right or wrong to marry your own sister? Is it right or wrong to have many wives? And the question is questionable because the Bible says both ways are permitted. And if you look around the world, in Asia, Africa, in the Muslim countries, they all permit a man to marry his own sister or half-sister or adopted so when you're looking at the cultures in India, the same way. And if you go back in history to the Egyptians, 3,000 years ago, 3,500 years ago, all of the pharaohs married their own sisters. And then if you looked at Cleopatra, she married her own brother. And throughout the whole pre-Christian European people, the Indo-European peoples, several kings married their half-sisters to keep the bloodline pure. And there's another fallacy that you hear people say, well, if you marry your half-sister, you'll have an ingrown child because you biologically, when two siblings marry each other, then have children, that those children are going to be deformed. And this is an absolute scientific myth because it's not true. Otherwise, dogs, when you have a litter of dogs and they inbreed with each other, never is there a deformed dog, and we're just exactly like dogs in the scientific world. I mean, there's never been any proof that marrying someone in your own family is that is coming out of your Christian Judeo religion, and to the way I see it, that I think it's just the question is, what is the right thing to do? Is my question.